and welcome everybody. It's Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is Christ and Culture show. I want to thank you all for being a part of the broadcast. Hope everybody's doing really well today. This has been I'm actually off the entire week, folks, and as a result of that, I'm just kind of being lazy. I'm being as lazy as you can imagine, and so there's a lot of things I've not done. Didn't go into the studio today. I'm doing from the home office, that kind of stuff. So everything is as loose as we can possibly make it. But fear not, everything is really well. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast of the day and hope that everybody's doing really well. We are on our new channel on YouTube, so I'm going to go over there right now. If you'd like to get in on the conversation on Christ and Culture, we are actually on right now on our new channel. So go over there, folks. Check it out, and if you want to get in on the chat, love to get you into the chat too. Yep, everything's up right now. So we're actually, this is our second season. Can you imagine that? I mean, it really is. And also, give you something. If you would go ahead and subscribe to our channel, I'd love for you to be able to be a part of everything that we do here on the broadcast, where you're actually getting updates as soon as we're there. You can get updated on when we're here in the show and stuff like that. So definitely you want to be updated on that. So subscribe to the show, and after the show's over, generally an hour or so after the show, we have the show up on Spotify or up on Apple Podcasts, so you can definitely check that out. Anyways, want to make sure we bring in our host on the show, Pastor Tommy Allums. Pastor Tommy, how are things going with you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Pastor Sherman. How are you?
I'm doing really well too. Yeah, another beautiful day. And have you had a great weekend so far, I hope?
Yes, it was. It's been busy. Pastor Sweetie, he's out of the country for a little bit, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of holding down both forts for a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's been busy, but things are going good.
Well, good. And you know what? And we mentioned last week that, and we both are pastors, so we both have churches that we do. But you just have been uploading stuff to the internet now, and so Flaming Word LV has been up, and so
Yes.
excited about that. Tell everybody a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been talking about.
Yeah, so I've got a series on the prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing recording the church services, and I'm also doing little shorter messages on there too. I may have two or three later this week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as they come up, I've got a list of things that I want to talk about, and so as they come up, I just kind of been talking about them. One of the things coming up is what is the gospel. I
Mm-hmm.
did a Bible study last night that was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I asked a question: Are you afraid to die?
Oh.
And everybody said yes or no or whatever their reasons were. And then I went back to Genesis and then told them what death was. I defined
Mm.
it. They were talking about carnal death. I was talking about spiritual death.
Spiritual death. Yeah,
And
sure.
so they were like, whoa. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's a
pretty
big
cool.
difference. Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Yeah, so I started listening to that. So and if people want to check out your broadcasts, so you've got a YouTube channel, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Flaming Word LV, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and also I don't know if you noticed it, but you've got a channel now on Godstream TV.
Yeah, I haven't noticed, but yes, I'll
Yeah,
check that out.
yeah. So folks, if you want to check out, so there's no commercials on Godstream TV. I'm just an
Nice.
unashamed plug. So you can go to Godstream TV and just check in the channels. And Flaming Word LV has got its own channel up there, so you can actually check out Pastor Tommy, which is real cool. But if people want to get a hold of you, they'd go to where would they go to?
They can contact me at flamingwordlv@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm always on the email. It goes right to my phone. And then we have a streaming channel. Um, I don't know what it is.
Ah,
I've got a link that I kind of send out. I don't have
yeah,
it memorized yet, but yeah, it's coming together.
very cool. So excited about that. Well, we've got some incredible things that are going on the on our here on Christ and Culture. This first story is all about Gaza, and really is Gaza. Many of you know in Gaza they're having some major problems there. Uh, the Israelis there was a ceasefire that the ceasefire started quite a while ago, and it seems as though that the ceasefire is not holding. The ceasefire in Gaza. This story is a story from um, from SRN News. And the story goes this way, and it says Israel launched a wave of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip on Tuesday, saying it was hitting Hamas targets in its heaviest assault on the territory since a ceasefire took effect in January. The strike have killed more than 400 people, wounded hundreds more, according to the Gaza Ministry. And this is in response to what has happened over the last few weeks, where Hamas was supposed to be releasing more and more Israeli, um, uh, gosh,
Hostages.
hostages. Yeah, this was a remarkable move, and this happened almost a couple of years ago now. It seems like, or was it about a couple? It seemed like it's
Year and a half.
forever.
Yeah.
But what has happened is, as a result of of all these kidnappings, America came in. They had a ceasefire. They were starting to release hostages, and then all of a sudden, Hamas says, "Well, we're done. We're done now." So the the crazy thing I'm seeing now is that I believe Hamas knew in their hearts that if they gave up all of their hostages, that they had no bargaining chips, and so they decided. I'm really believing this that they're going to hold on to as many hostages as they possibly can in an effort to have a bargaining chip. But the thing they didn't bargain for was that Israel is going to be unleashed by America and just start bombing the crap out of them. And you saw by the pictures, Gaza, the Gaza Strip is it's big. It's a landfill at this point. Pastor Tommy, what kind of strategy is Hamas working with here? Because they're all hell just broke loose, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah, it's two things I think is happening.
Mm.
One is what you just said. They're trying to use those hostages as a bargaining chip because they have nothing else.
Mm.
They once those hostages are gone, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
They have nothing to bargain with. The second thing I think that they're looking to accomplish is taking as much time as they can so that Iran can acquire that nuclear weapon
Mm.
capability to the point of being able to disperse it. I think that they have that already. I think that they're in the testing stages. And, I really believe that it's twofold. And the major part is to allow Iran to get that nuclear weapon. But
Mm.
according to President Trump, we could be going in there any minute to try and prevent that.
Yeah, I think they just for that. So part of the whole ceasefire is that um, President Trump was saying, "Hey guys, guess what? If we see any action by any of these rebel factions, we're going to come after you, Iran. We're going to come after you guys because we know you're behind all this other stuff." And so
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that they are not counting on is that President Trump is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a very weak president he wouldn't even threaten you. That's the thing about it. He would say don't, just don't.
Don't.
Okay, right? What does that mean? What does don't mean? Okay, whereas Trump says all hell is going to break loose, and
Yeah.
he's just crazy enough to do it, and that's exactly what's happening. I don't think they really believe that Trump will allow Israel just to blow the crap out of them, and we'll just come in afterwards and make a resort out of Gaza.
Yeah. Yeah. He said that's what they're gonna do, and it's really up to Hamas, really,
Mm-hmm.
and it's up to the Palestinian Authority to let this continue like it is. The people are suffering.
Yeah.
Hamas ain't really suffering. The Palestinian Authority ain't suffering.
No,
It's the
no.
people.
The people are suffering, and that's the thing about it. One. I guess another thing about this whole thing is they don't realize that President Trump does not want this war to continue. He's working on, and we'll talk about it a little later, section in our next block here. President Trump is a peacemaker. If you can
Yeah.
say anything, he's not a warmonger. He doesn't want to see these wars continue, endless wars. As the president of Ukraine found out, he said, "Look, we're not going to write you a blank check. We want this ended." And
Mm-hmm.
but and he will do anything he can if it means that leveling Gaza to stop the warring. That's just the way it's going to be. And so I think that's
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to go. So people are blaming Netanyahu. They're saying, "Hey, Netanyahu, you're just letting things get out of hand, and you're listening to people." Um, I think in another 2 days, I think people in Gaza, the Hamas, uh, people are going to start going. The people, the Palestinians, are going to say, "Hamas, I thought you guys were going to get this stopped. I thought we were going to win." As they continue to blow up this place, have you taken a look at the? And we showed a picture just a minute of what it looks like. I'm going to bring that picture up just one more time of what Gaza looks like at this point. And this is what Gaza looks like right now, folks. And this is like something unheard of. This is the most terrible thing I've seen. It was never a beautiful place at all, but now it's a landfill, and so. These people have got to get to a point where they're saying we're done. We're done with this whole thing. We don't want this anymore, and maybe in another week, because it's not going to end. Now, let me ask you, Pastor Tommy. Have you heard anything from your sources of people their opinions on Israel going in, fighting against the Palestinians, and and the death, the death and the carnage? Has anybody talked to you about this?
Yeah, it's you get a mixed bag, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it. The family of the hostages want them to come home,
Mm-hmm.
and but they want them to be negotiated. But what they don't seem to understand is Hamas doesn't want to negotiate. They really don't want to negotiate. So I get what they're feeling, but yeah. So and then there's other people who are criticizing um, Netanyahu. But the thing is, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
If you understood that there was an existential threat to the nation of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
they have said out of their own mouth, we want to destroy Israel off the map. That is where we belong. We want to eradicate all the Jews. I mean, what makes you think that, okay, maybe I can negotiate with these guys?
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to work.
No.
And
No.
over the
No.
last year and 8 months or whatever it's been, you haven't been able to negotiate.
Yeah.
The only reason why they're responding is because of the war.
Yeah.
What Israel's doing.
And I think one of the things you said was really important is that Hamas really doesn't want a ceasefire. They
No.
they want to see Israel gone. And I don't think they see reality, though. The reality is they don't have the firepower, and there's nobody coming to help them destroy Israel.
No.
As a matter of fact, it's the contrary. There are people coming to help destroy you. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, yeah. Let's go into another story. In This is President Trump and Vladimir Putin, and they had a meeting this morning. And at this meeting that they had, the meeting was this morning. President Donald Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed during a lengthy call Tuesday to an immediate pause in strikes against energy and infrastructure targets in the Ukraine war, but the Russian leaders stopped short of backing a broader 30-day pause in fighting that the U.S. administration is pressing for. Very interesting story here. Vladimir Putin invaded, and actually, can you believe this thing has gone on for 4 years now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Going on 4 years that Russia invades Ukraine, and they and now after all this time, President Trump gets back into office, and of course his big thing is he's saying, you know what, guess what? If I would have been in office, this would have never happened. But he says that he could actually end this war. He spoke to Volodymyr, not to be confused with Volodymyr Zelensky came to the White House a couple of weeks ago, and basically President Trump, Vice President Vance had a meeting with him and said, "Hey, look, dude, this thing's got to end." And he gave all indications that he doesn't want to stop yet. And President said, "Guess what? Get out because we're done. We're supposed to start moving into some negotiations." Well, now so Volodymyr Zelensky says that Vladimir Putin won't come to the negotiating tables, and the Trump administration is they are dead set on getting Vladimir Putin to start talking because that's the only way you can get him to start agreeing to anything. So this is very interesting that they've agreed to at least stop, destroying infrastructure, energy, that kind of stuff. Give me your thoughts on this because once again, this kind of shows what the president is capable of doing, but it also shows that there might be actually some movement happening here. Do you think there's going to be some movement in this? And if not, what do you think is going to happen next?
Well, we just got to keep in remembrance that President Trump is a businessman, and he gets off making deals. That's what he does. He negotiates deals, and he's confident in doing so that he can reach an agreement. So I'm confident in his ability to do that. He's gotten both of them, in his presence, right? Which didn't happen in the previous administration. So we're already farther along. We've already gotten a whole lot farther. It's just the details is probably going to take some time to work out, but he'll get a deal. He'll get a deal because he knows how to get it done. He knows what he wants, and he knows how to get what he wants.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing. I was listening earlier about this, and they were talking about how once again, and we mentioned it before. President Trump he hates all the killing. That's his big thing. He just doesn't want to see any more of the killing. He's done with it. And Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, he's impressing onto him that he doesn't like the killing. And then Trump impresses onto Putin that about the killing. And one commentator said this, and he was a ex-CIA guy. He says, you got to understand something. He says, Putin doesn't care about how many people die. He doesn't care about that at all. He is wanting to recreate this utopian society where Russia's got back some of its land, some of the ancestral lands that he seems to think that he has. And that President Trump should not be fooled into believing that Putin cares anything about anything. That this is unlike any other negotiations. I mean, what do you think when somebody says something about the opposition going, this guy doesn't care if you die or not. He just wants power.
That could possibly be true. Because before you go to war, you count that cost, right? Nobody goes to war without counting. Okay, we're probably going to lose this many men if it goes on for this amount of time. So that could possibly be true to a certain extent, but I think the real issue is going to come down to NATO. Ukraine being brought on as NATO. They have to work that out. That is the deal maker or the deal breaker. And because he doesn't want NATO on his doorstep. And neither would we if we had NATO saying, we got to fight against Russia. And they're encroaching closer and closer to the boundaries of Russia. And
Yeah.
now here, he's fighting over this country to protect what he has. I get it. And Zelensky may have to concede some land. But the bottom line is whether or not they're going to let NATO in Ukraine or not. That's going to be the deal maker or the deal breaker right there.
Yeah, you mentioned something about people being on your doorstep, and it's kind of off topic here. Remember the President Trump, when he was even thinking about, he was getting closer and closer to the November election and everything else, and he was talking about how he wanted Greenland, and how he wanted the Panama Canal, and how important that was. China, who's not really been in the, we've not talked about China in a while. As a matter of fact, people are forgetting about China here because but China is always at work doing something.
Yep.
The Panama Canal. So the Panama Canal, the U.S. said, "Hey, we are going to take back the Panama Canal." There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. China has established ports in either end of the Panama Canal, which is crazy. How do we let these guys all of a sudden just wake up one morning, and our number one, adversary, geopolitical adversary, is like closer to us than LA. And so I get it where Putin is at. Putin's going, wait a minute, guys, you Europeans, you NATO, I don't want you on my doorstep. So you can understand it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And they're hostile against Russia. I mean, every news, I don't care what news station you watch, they're portraying him as hostile. And maybe it's true. I'm not a Russian supporter or anything like that. I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying, but look at it from his point of view. You got this hostile environment that's encroaching upon you, and you're just supposed to sit there and just let it happen. When they said, it's just like, Iran says we want to destroy Hamas. NATO is basically saying the same thing about Russia. We need to go to war against them. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think the only difference is NATO is supposedly, quote unquote, is a deterrent. So NATO is actually a defensive weapon it's a conglomeration of countries that say, hey, we will defend you.
Right.
We're not offensive, we're defensive.
Right.
But in the Soviet mind, in the KGB mind, he had to get in the mind of a KGB guy.
There you go.
And also you got to get in the spiritual mind of this guy. I mean, his spirit is seared. This guy has killed more people. And we don't know how much on a daily basis this guy people disappear. People who all of a sudden we find out that some guy that was going to, come here to America or something like that, all of a sudden he's gone.
Poisoned.
Poisoned, all of a sudden he just, spiritually we're in a place where we've got these other countries, and since we're, spiritual people, I guess we should speak to the spiritual aspect of this. We're dealing with a spiritual thing that's going on all around us.
Absolutely.
Russia being probably, here's the thing about it. Russia used to be a Christian nation, though.
Yes.
They've got great Gothic cathedrals. Still to this day, they're still there, right?
Yep.
China used to be a Christian nation.
Yep.
Before they got, for all the Maoists, all those guys showed up, and they expelled all the Christians. And now in China, if you have a church in China, it's because the state allowed you to have it. And it's generally, it can only go, a couple of feet here or there. We could solve this whole problem. This whole problem could be solved. These nations just become Christian and we're fine. That's all I said.
Yeah. That if it was that simple, that is the answer, though. They just don't believe it.
Yeah. The same thing in the Middle East, though. The same thing that's going on with Hamas and everything else. I mean, these are not like these are not people who do not know what Christianity is. They just choose to not believe it. And And here's the thing. So I guess here comes the $1 million question. If these people can see that the fruits of their labor are nothing more than just terrible, why did they choose to keep going down that road?
You just said it in your question because they
Hmm.
don't see it. They can't see it. They're blind. The scripture tells them that they're blind. The what does it say? The God of this world has
Mm,
blinded the
blinded
minds.
them.
Yeah, has blinded their minds. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's dark. That's darkness, man. I mean, that's
it
spiritually
is.
dark. Um,
Yeah,
it's you could lead them to water, and they would go, "No, I don't want that water." It's
yeah.
you know, but it will give you life. I don't care. I don't want it. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, some of you folks are just watching the show. You just tuned in just now. I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Pastor Tommy, and this is Christ and Culture Show. And we're on our new channel, our new YouTube channel. But you can also hear, you can listen to this broadcast on Godstream TV, of course. No commercial interruptions. And and but so tell your friends about it. Tell your friends all about the show that's on, stuff like that. We talk about the current events from a Christian perspective. Hopefully, we can enlighten you just a little bit on what's going on in the world, and hopefully, you can get just a little bit more out of it, because that's really our Christian worldview is really what we're supposed to be looking at the world from. Check us out on Godstream TV, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and if you go on Godstream TV, definitely just kind of Google in, the search bar, Christ and Culture Show, and it'll go take you directly to it. So there's another story. This story is about Elon Musk, and Pastor Tom, you probably know about Elon Musk. He's been in the news quite a bit. But this one is it's a really good, a feel good story, because it's going to be happening right now. As a matter of fact, if we had the TV on, we could probably watch the the re-entry of a SpaceX Dragon rocket that is going to
Mhm.
be carrying these two folks. These NASA astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. They bid farewell from the International Space Station just a few hours ago, and they are on their way home. It's supposed to be splashing down at about 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is about right now on the West Coast. So we're very excited for them. Now here's the story about these two folks that I think will get your attention. Is that these folks were thought they were going to go out for a week long or a couple of weeks out on the space station. It turned into a 9-month voyage, and this kind of reminds me of Gilligan's Island. Remember,
Yeah,
they went up for a 3-hour tour, and that thing
yeah,
went for about 16 seasons, right? Of
yeah.
and I was talking to my wife about. I go, honey, this is Gilligan's Island all over again. Uh, Here's the thing about it is, and I'm gonna turn on, because I've got ways of seeing this right now. I'm gonna turn on our remote here and see if I can see this, and maybe I'll bring it up in a second. Pastor Tommy, let's speak to this. Here's the thing about it. Elon Musk, his company SpaceX went out and they grabbed these folks from off the space station uh, when the Biden administration had an opportunity to do it during his administration, and they said no, we're not going to do it. And now let's let them stay out there; they'll be fine. But Elon Musk and his folks said no, we're going to send up a. This is a private individual that went up, got them, and they're bringing them back right now. I'm really believing they're probably splashing down by now. And what do you think about the reaction from the left is, though, about Elon Musk? Because they still hate him, but he's basically saving the lives of people and even doing more that we'll talk about. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that just goes to show you we have a no nonsense group of people that's working for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's angering people because they've got used to all the nonsense. And when you're used to nonsense, sense doesn't make sense to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I I couldn't believe that, the past administration said, "Hey, we're just going to leave him up there." Wait, what?
Yeah.
And because
Oh,
Elon
hey,
Musk
Pastor
has
Tommy,
the
I'm
means,
I'm gonna jip for just a second. I just
sure, sure.
went over and took a look at it. Yeah, they are at home now. They've splashed
Oh,
down,
nice.
and I had a feeling they were gonna come. They were gonna come on by the time we were on this show right now. But I hate to interrupt you, but the astronauts have now arrived home. As a matter of fact, I'm watching the capsule right now. I don't think you can see this. I don't have another camera that I can show you this. Um, but I'm going to show you. Can you see this, guys? Some of you can see this. I
Oh,
really wish I
yeah.
could. Yeah, I should bring this up to you. But so that's them. They're
Nice.
back. They're back in. Okay. So, anyways, all right. I'll see if I can bring this up. It's another camera view. But they're back in now, and after 9 months being in orbit, and go ahead and finish your thought there, Pastor Tommy.
Yeah, that's great that they're home, because I was totally shocked that that they got left there in the first place willingly. It wasn't that they didn't have the means, and so
Mm-mm.
you know here this private individual, no matter how famous he is, he's a private individual. So
Mm-hmm.
I have the means to do it. I'll go do it, and he
Yeah,
did it.
he
And
did.
that just goes to show you what kind of person he is.
So this reminds me, Pastor Tommy, get this. If you or I ran into a building, you got all the firemen and everybody, all the firemen are busy doing something else, and we see a burning car or we see a burning building, and you and I just take it upon ourselves to run in this building and rescue not one, not two, but an entire family that was in there. We go in time and time again. People go, "Don't do it, don't do it," and you run in. You still and you, Pastor Tommy, and you even go for the cat. You get the cat, you bring the cat out, and you're breathing, and then all of a sudden, people go, "But I hate you."
Yeah.
This is what the Democrat Party is like. There's a guy. His name is Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, right? Mark
Hmm.
Kelly was a spaceman. Okay, he's I
Hmm.
think he's a congressman in Arizona,
Yeah.
and he had a Tesla car. And so now, once again, I want to remind you, Mark Kelly was an astronaut. Okay, so he was a bad guy. So he's what every little boy aspired to be: test pilot and a pilot. Goes up to the moon or goes, into space and the shuttle and everything else. He's and then he becomes a congressman. So he's a real guy. And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, he gets involved with this political group, and he loses his mind. And because he should be able to identify with Elon Musk, right? You should be able to identify with them and going, "Hey, this guy's going to go
Yep.
up and
Yep.
save somebody's life." No, he goes
Yeah.
out and he goes, "I'm going to get rid of my Tesla because I think Elon Musk is a." We won't say the word, but he just cussed.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. It's funny you just mentioned Tesla.
mhm.
This morning when I left, outside of my gate, there was a bunch of police activity.
Mm,
So I had to go around. I couldn't go, the way that I needed to go. I had to go around. And so when I got to my appointment, I said, "Hey, pull up the news, man. There's something happening over by my house." Come to
mhm.
find out, they have destroyed the Tesla building and burned some cars out that's right around the corner from my house. That's domestic terrorism that's happening right here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. No,
There
they
you
call
go.
it protesting. They just call it protests. Just a little protest, mostly peaceful. That's what they call it. They call it mostly peaceful protesting. People are just well in their rights. They can burn your house down if they wanted to, right?
And
Um,
it's still blocked off since this morning.
yeah. I think this speaks to a bigger issue here. Okay. Elon Musk, and I'm watching this. I'm still watching this. As a matter of fact, Mark Kelly's brother,
Hmm.
doing commentary on Fox News, and he's talking about this
Just lost your
triumphal.
sound.
Oh, did you? Oh, did I lose my sound? Oh, I can still hear myself. You can't hear me though? No? Why don't you do this? Why don't you go back? Because I can hear myself. So let me make sure. I'm going to see if I can get my sound back up. I'm going to make sure that I'm actually up. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm still on. So why don't you do this, Tommy? Why don't you go ahead and go off and then come back? Can you? Okay. All right. So, and while Pastor Tommy's gone, I'm going to. So this, I wanted to do the show by myself, anyways, folks. No, I didn't at all. So this kind of goes back to a real kind of a scary place we're at in America, where you've got people who are saying, hey, that they are. Can you hear me now? You've got people who are saying that they are. I'm gonna keep messing with this. We're gonna try to get Pastor Tommy back here in just a second. He's gonna keep going back, and he's gonna keep going back on and off, and maybe he can get his sound back here. But this goes back to what we're talking about as far as the people who say that they are. Well, Pastor Tom, I'm going to see if somehow my audio looks like it's good. Yep, looks like we're good here. And I'm going to. Yep, I can hear you. All right, can you hear me now, Pastor Tommy? No, you still cannot hear me, huh? So we're having just some audio. So we had the same problem last time too. So we had some audio problems with it. And Pastor Tommy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away and then I'm going to come back on and bring you back on the show. Okay. So let's see if I can get him back on. But this kind of goes back to a problem we had in America with people who say that they have these ties to the Green New Deal. And when they say they have these ties to the Green New Deal, what they're saying is that they're pro Green Deal, that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, the truth is they're not. The truth is that because if they were, guess what? They would keep their cars. They would keep their Tesla vehicles. And Pastor Tom, we got you back on. So how are you doing? Are you still there?
Good. Yeah, I can hear you good now.
Oh, good. So we're talking about the Tesla vehicles, and people were talking about how they're so green, and they want to have this whole green perspective on life and stuff like that. But as soon as they disliked or when Elon Musk fell out of favor with them because he's a Trump supporter and that he's working with the whole Doge thing, all of a sudden they lost their ideology that there was a global warming or everything, because they got rid of they're getting rid of their Tesla vehicles, right? Like the car you have, or the dealership that's around the corner from you. So what happened is the Green New Deal, okay? Is that whole woke thing, is that a real thing, or is it just a political aberration?
I think that it's a political aberration. I do. I just, it's a moneymaker. It's a control piece to be able to control people, to limit people on what they can do, what they can't do, what they can buy, what they can't buy. Mm-hmm. We saw mandates for electric-only stoves, no more gas stoves, no more gas cars by a certain year. That's controlling people because all this stuff is connected. If you don't pay your kid's soccer bill, you can be driving down the freeway and they cut your car off or whatever. It's not going to be that drastic, but the possibility is there. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do. I don't think that it's for any other reason.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm not scared. It concerns me when you have a group of people who say, yes, black folks, and especially because we're black, right? Most people don't notice it, but we are. Pastor Tommy and I are
got to point it out.
Yeah, we got to point it out. But our viewpoint goes counter to what the liberals and Democrats espouse, and 90% of quote unquote African Americans. And so people are, and so Charlemagne, this guy named Charlemagne, and I think his name is like Eddie or something like that. It's some, anyways, uh, that they look at us as not real. They look at us as not black
Yeah.
because we do not,
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
toe the same line as them. But here's the thing about it: Black Lives Matters, which is supposedly a black group, has done absolutely nothing for the black community, and yet they're saying that they're doing something. And so, and this Mark Kelly guy, okay, who is supposed to be some great Greenpeace guy, Green New Deal, clean energy, and everything else. Why is it that this guy would get rid of his Tesla, which is the number one selling EV in the world, because he doesn't like the guy who makes it? Because a couple of months ago he was just fine with it.
Yeah. He bought it. Yeah.
So is there any truth to what they believe, or they're blowing smoke?
Scripture talks about make sure you don't be carried away with every wind of doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Something new blows in. Some people are just like that. They just, whatever's new, it doesn't matter what the old mindset was. They just going in with whatever's new. And that's what it seems like people are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Every wind of doctrine, and everybody has to be on board with whatever that doctrine is for that time, whatever that viewpoint is for that time. And if not, you deserve to be crushed. You don't agree with us, we hate you and we want to destroy you. That is the mindset that we're seeing among people right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just. We're still keeping an eye on here, folks. The astronauts who were in space from the space station have been. They're actually getting ready to open up the hatches, right, the door right now. So they've got a Navy SEAL out there, and he's climbing up the side of this capsule, which is very cool. And he's climbing up. You would think by now we would have boats that would grab the thing, pick it up, and put it. No, they got a guy climbing on the side of this thing, right? And he's trying to put a rope on it and everything else, which is very cool. And at some point they're going to try to open up the hatch or maybe drag this thing over to the vessel. I think that's what they're doing. They're putting a rope on the thing and they're going to tow it in. Everything's like Texas, right? So, which is very, very exciting. But we once again we want to give a big round of applause to Elon Musk because if it had not been for him, a private citizen, because Boeing, who was a military contractor, they had some issues with their Starliner ship, a recovery ship, and even though the ship got back safely, they said that they didn't trust that it would get there, and then Elon Musk, said, "Hey, I'll go up there and do it." Here's the thing about it. What else has this guy done? He has gone. So he has these satellites that he's got all around the world, and I forgot what the name of them is.
Starlink.
So Starlink, he's got these satellites all around the world, and he can connect the internet around the world globally. And what he's done is he said, "Hey, I'll let them use it in Ukraine. Doesn't charge them." He said, "Hey, we'll let you use them there." They used them out here in California, but they had the fires. This guy's developing. So his original thing that he developed was PayPal, and he has the boring companies putting tunnels underneath the. He's got this medical stuff that he's doing to help people. They call it a neural link to help people who can't, hear or whatever, or no, they can't move. So they're going to have a neural link that they're going to be able to do. He's developing all these things for humanity, and they look at this guy, and then he goes up with this. I forgot SpaceX. I forgot all about SpaceX, right? He also was the one who developed AI. I mean, the AI that we use right now that's taking over the world. He and along with a couple of other guys were the ones who started developing that. And so you would think most people would think that this guy's a great, that if he comes into your government and he says, hey, I can help you with your waste, fraud, and abuse, that we'd be happy about it. But you've got people that are just willing to kill this guy, and you got to think to yourself, what is wrong? What is wrong with you people? Here's this question. Many people and have said that if Jesus came back right now to the world, you would think people would go, oh, he's Jesus is here. No, you know what they'd probably do? What do you think, Pastor Tommy, if Jesus came back today and started telling people repent, what do you think people would do to him?
They would try to crucify him all over again. That's what I think.
Yeah.
The world, the church wouldn't, because we wouldn't be deceived, but the world would.
Yeah. Why do you think people would do that?
Because they're not ready for the truth. They're walking in darkness. They can't. The light shined in darkness. I think it's John chapter 1. The light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. They can't comprehend it. That's why when we share the gospel, when we share the love of Jesus Christ, they don't want nothing to do with it. It's the same thing. And so we're talking about him. If he were to come right now, I think most people would be ready to crucify him all over again.
Yeah, because you would think that people would go, oh, it's Jesus. Wait a minute. You mean you give me an opportunity right now to accept you? And they wouldn't accept him. They would not do it. Yeah. No. I can almost guarantee you these people would go, what? No, as a matter of fact, we're going to kill you just because everybody get on the phone. You would have George Soros. There'd be signs, all these pre-printed signs. All of a sudden would be instantly appear, like he's been planning all this time, right?
Yeah.
So is it really a shock that these people do not accept Elon Musk? Is it really a shock that these people don't accept Donald Trump? Now, as rough as Donald Trump is, okay, because he's a rough brother. I mean, he's just rough, okay? Mm-hmm. But Elon Musk is doing... I heard this British guy come on. He's a news anchor guy, or he's somebody in Parliament in Britain. And he says, I can't believe you guys got Elon Musk to do this. He's the greatest in the world, and you guys should be happy he's doing all this other stuff, you know? And I'm thinking, yeah, that makes sense to me that we should be happy. And these people are ready to kill this man. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some of you, this is your first time checking out the show. I'm Pastor Sherman, it's Pastor Tommy. And this is Christ&Culture show. We're watching right now as they're preparing to exit the space people. Our last two astronauts that have been locked away in this space station for 9 months. Right now we're watching. I wish I could put this up in the corner. Gosh, I should have done this. Didn't have the news feed. Next time we're gonna get this. So we'll get the news feed next time. And we'll put it in a corner. They're Navy frogmen, the Navy SEALs right now are attaching ropes and getting this capsule that's splashed down outside of Florida, and they're just about ready to get these guys coming out of the thing. So this is very exciting. It is 6:22 Eastern time right now. The capsule splashed down at about 3 o'clock here Pacific Standard Time, and literally there's like it's like a tow vehicle, and it's like a big Navy tugboat, and there's like an arm that's kind of folding down over the top of this space capsule right now, and it's coming over this way. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to get it within the side of it. It's like a big hoop, and they're going to catch this thing, which is just very exciting. So I'm watching this as a NASA thing. So it's very, very, very cool that things are going on right now. While they're doing this, and we're literally there's probably just about 2 or 3 minutes before it, and we'll come back to the story in just a second. There was a story about this poor girl, and this poor girl, her name is Sadiqa, and this poor girl, she was in, is it Punta Cana? Where she was in the DR. She was in the Dominican Republic, and she went to a she went on a spring break. 20-year-old girl, and she went out for drinks with some friends. Met a guy. Went out swimming. Just a lovely girl. I mean, just a lovely girl. Went out swimming, and they come to find that this girl just came up missing, and they've had a worldwide manhunt for this girl. And right now, her parents have said, "Hey, we want you to declare her dead." It's been a week now that they've not seen this girl. The young boy that was last seen with her has been fully cooperative up until just recently. As a matter of fact, he's saying, "Hey, look, guys, either you charge me with something or let me go, but I can't just hang out here while you guys are this." And so this is a terrible story. Your thoughts on this story of this poor girl, Pastor Tommy?
I didn't see too much on on her, but it's just a dangerous time for everyone, especially young females. And you're going to a different country, and I just want to say to young people, if you're going to travel, and I don't want to create any fear about traveling, you should travel if you got an opportunity. But don't be out there by yourself. Have some friends, even if you do meet a guy. Have some friends around,
Sure.
just so that you all can be accountable, because this keeps happening. This is not the first time some female turned up missing.
Yeah. That's true.
And
yeah,
then you find out years later that something else happened. So
something else happened to her. In an totally unrelated story, this is a story, and as a matter of fact, once again, we're keeping an eye on. They've actually gotten the capsule now out of the water, and the capsule is actually sitting on the side of a pretty large boat, and they're going to open this thing up pretty quick. But I really want to get another story in because we're almost out of time here. This is a if you're the picture you're seeing right now, folks, are a bunch of guys from Trende, Aragua, and this is a a Venezuelan gang, and a couple of hundred of these guys were on on planes that left the United States on its way to El Salvador, and a federal judge has ordered that the plane that these guys were on, that it be turned around. The Trump administration said no, that plane was already in the air, and we're not turning it around. And so you've got about 250 of these guys. They went goose stepping. I wish I had the live feed of this. You've got about 250 of these guys who are now, probably for the rest of their life, going to be in an El Salvadorian jail. The reason why I bring this up is, Pastor Tommy, you're the one who mentioned this whole wave of justice in El Salvador. And I don't know if you remember this, but you're the one who brought this up originally. And it was about a year ago that you brought this up, about this president who has just turned the whole culture of El Salvador from one of the most lawless places on the planet to one of the safest places. And now, ironically, they're taking Venezuelan gang members to the supermax prison, and these guys know once they got there, that's it. They're done. They're never coming back out again. Your thoughts on what the Trump administration is doing here, and your second thoughts on what a judge must be thinking to say, "Hey, turn that plane around, bring those guys back here to America."
President Trump, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. So we can't, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. And we should be grateful that he's a man that sticks to his word. But to the judges that made that decision, I just want to say, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I mean, you got a plane load of criminals. What, 200, 250, something like
250, sure. Yeah.
And you want to bring them back and loose them back into society?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And this is not a federal judge like, a national federal judge. This is a district court judge. You know, this is the guy you walk in and you go, hey, I've got a parking ticket. Right? This is a district judge who says, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
What the president of the United States is doing, I think, is, wrong. And it's probably not even something him thinking. Somebody probably brought up to him and said, hey, let me give you a couple some bucks for your reelection. And if you will bring this up and say something about it. From what I can, ascertain from all these talking heads out there, that the president is well within his rights to do this. That if you've got people in our country who are, terrorists, and this TDA group has been designated as a terror group, that you can get them out of this country. You don't have to, that a judge has nothing to say about this. As a matter of fact, judges are not supposed to have anything to say about this because they're not part of the executive branch, But for some reason, these Democrats are fighting the wrong battle. It goes back to what we were talking about before. What is going on in the minds of these judges? What is wrong with these people? I'm just flabbergasted. These guys they're in darkness. I mean, but are we living in the last days? We've got to be. Yeah.
Yes.
This is scary. Where these guys now, I've seen them goose stepping these guys out of this thing. They're shaving their heads. As soon as they get on, because these guys are walking off, and they've got their tattoos all over their bodies and everything else, and then they got them heads down, and they're pushing them along, and they're goose stepping them, and the hair is flopping, and then all of a sudden at the end of that line, there's a guy with a razor. Ow, ow, and they come out looking like this, man. Right? They had one time they had flowing hair, right? 2 seconds later, that thing is gone. And if you had, and now you were in the military, right?
Yes.
And remember when they shaved your head for the first time?
Yes.
And the guy went, ow, 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 ow. Same thing.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly what it is. Yep. Yeah. I cut my hair before I went in, though.
Oh, did you?
Pretty close before I went in, so I was in and out of the chair like that.
There you go. Well, that's what they happen to these guys. I'm really surprised. So here's the list of things that we as a country are watching as we're fighting this culture war. Okay, culture war. One of them is immigration, a big one. Immigration, where you've got people who are saying, look, we are going to close these borders. But on the left-hand side, they're saying, no, we want to continue to let in as many people as we can. You've got this battle with, the waste, fraud, and abuse which you think everybody would be fine with. Okay, hey, guess what? Let's take care of this. No, you've got the other side going, no, go ahead. We want you to continue with the waste, fraud, and abuse, which makes absolutely no sense. And now you've got the thing with the girls and boys and girls sports, right? You would think once again, everybody would be fine. This is a no-brainer. Nope. You got the other side going, no, we want to fight for that also. It goes on. The list goes on and on. Pastor Tom, I know you're thinking about this. This list goes on and on and on. We are living in a time that is unparalleled. And how people can think that they're doing right by supporting this other group is beyond me. Your thoughts on that?
It is complete insanity. And one of the things my mom used to tell me when I was younger, she says, crazy people don't know that they're crazy. So, and these people are literally insane. There's no reality behind their thought process, behind their thoughts. There's no reality. It's like this fantasy thing. They want to create this new world and expect everybody to just jump on board to what's in their mind. That's not how life is. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, it's crazy. Pastor Tom, we're out of time. Before we leave, folks, though, I want to encourage you. Some of you were with us when we started talking about the astronauts who are on the SpaceX Dragon capsule that re-entered the Earth's atmosphere at about 6:30. 6 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock our time. So we've been watching this for a little over about a half an hour now. The space the astronauts are on board right now on a ship right now. They've not opened up the capsule yet. We're going to end. I wish we could watch this video on this right now. But it looks like these guys made it home. I want to thank Elon Musk. I know I want to thank you too, Pastor Tommy, but I want to thank Elon Musk for what he's done to help out the nation. This has been something that we as a country and we as a people can look back and go, you know what? Thank you so much for what this guy has done. And it looks like they're just shooting off the ship right now, probably getting some of the dirt off and stuff like that before they let these guys out. But this is pretty exciting. Anyways, Pastor Tommy, I'm going to let you go. And if you, once again, folks, we'll have this show up on our Godstream TV. I'm sorry, I'm watching the show here. We'll have it up on our Godstream TV channel in just a minute, folks. But Pastor Tommy, we will see you again next week, okay?
All right, God bless.
All right, God bless you too. And thank you, folks, once again for being a part of the broadcast. It's been Pastor Sherman for Christ and Culture. Once again, folks, we will have the show up in just a couple more minutes, and check it out. And thank Elon Musk once again for what he's done for the nation with getting all these astronauts back home. And folks, we encourage you, if you want to get yourself a Tesla, you want to get yourself one of these nice new brand new EV cars, we encourage you to do that. Buy a Tesla, support Elon Musk, support all these folks, okay? Anyways, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for Christ and Culture. We will see you again next week. Have a nice one, folks. Bye-bye.